so we get an overview of how it's your specific case of life in Costa Rica right now.
Great.
The first question that I have, it's cultural adjustment. One thing that took you a while to adapt.
Yeah. Similar to what I was just describing, things work based on personal connections and if people like you and not because they should. And so, you go to the bank and if you're a jerk, they're just not going to really go out of their way to help you. And if they like you and you ask about their family and you're calm and patient, they'll go out of their way to do what they can for you. We were going to have our electric cut off because I forgot to pay it, which is a good reminder. I need to pay it today. And the guy from the office called me because he knows me personally and I've always been very polite. And he allowed me to make my payment late and they didn't cut off our electric.
If you would not have known that person in person,
Yeah,
they
that
will
was just
cut it and that's it.
yeah. Or if I would be a jerk every time I go in, they're not going to help.
Second question that I have is social life. How do you meet new people, new friends right now?
Yeah. Well, we have a young baby. So we have a 2-year-old. And so our social life has taken a hit in the last few years. But there's a lot of community groups. So there's a Spanish morning breakfast where a bunch of gringos get together and speak Spanish terribly. There is pickleball. So I've always played sports in different places I've gone. So I play pickleball. And she's a singer. So she joined a band. There's hiking groups. We walk the dogs and see people. This is one of those places where you wave at everybody. And so even if you don't have social activities, you just go to town and go shopping and it feels like a social activity.
Nice. Third one that I have, it's language. How are you dealing with Spanish? It is a must in Costa Rica.
No, Costa Rica is actually pretty friendly if you don't speak Spanish, depending on where you are. There's a lot of places where, and some of our clients just never learned much Spanish and you can get by fine. We live much more rurally. And so there are some expats here that don't speak Spanish, but I'm probably like a 7 out of 10 right now. And we have a nanny who helps with the child. And so our Spanish is certainly conversational. And I think that just really deepens your experience. So you don't need it, but I'd recommend trying at least because people really appreciate when you try it.
Absolutely. What about we talk a little bit about geo arbitrage. What
Mhm.
about the cost of living? Like how expensive it is or how cheap it is right now?
Yeah. So people hear Central America and they think it's going to be really cheap. And some countries are, but Costa Rica is not that cheap. It's a middle income country. We compare it to living in kind of like a mid tier city in the US or Canada or the UK.
Mhm.
Our household budget per month is $3,800, about. It depends. It could be a lot cheaper if we wanted. It could also be a lot more expensive. We own our own home, but we do have a nanny. We have a lady who comes clean the house. So typically in Costa Rica, especially imported food is very expensive. But utilities are not that expensive. And then cost of labor is really cheap. So things like having someone clean your house or a nanny is way more affordable. So my brother lives in Denver, Colorado, and they pay something like 10 times as much to send their baby to daycare than we pay
Okay.
for a nanny who comes here from 8 to 5, 5 days a week.
All right. You said you own the house, so the next one that I have it's like finding a home. How do you
Yeah,
find apartments, place to
this
live?
is challenging. Yeah, so the market in Costa Rica is very informal, and there's just not that much inventory because most things are just short-term Airbnbs. And so you really need to know property management companies or know realtors on the ground. There are some online websites that you can use to pull listings. So this is something that we do for our clients is manage this process because it is so difficult. We always recommend renting before you buy because in Costa Rica it's easy to buy, hard to sell. So we rented a place for a year just to make sure we wanted to be where we ended up, and then we decided to buy and we actually ended up finding our own place, not through a realtor.
Next one that I have it's living like a local. One thing that you use to blend in and or one mistake to avoid to not be
Yeah.
the target.
Well, I think waving at everybody, I think, Costa Rica, especially where we live, it's a very small, tight knit community. If you go out, if you are in a big city, you're going to put your hood up, you're going to put your earphones in, you're going to walk with your head down, and you're going to kind of just assume that you don't need to interact with anybody. And here, that'd be very rude. And just even people driving by, if you're walking by, you say, hola, like you make eye contact, you wave, you smile. And I think not doing that is not the end of the world, but I think people will respond to you much better if you go and you like to talk to people. And I know that a lot of us we don't talk to people as much as we used to, but I think living in Costa Rica, just being very friendly, being very patient, like talking to people will go a long way.
Sounds like a nice environment to me.
It is a nice spot. Part of the reason we're here. We wanted to raise our kid. It's much more community oriented than where we were. So our nanny,
Mm.
like, they take our daughter for hours at a time. We don't know where our daughter is, but she's just at the grandma's house, and she's playing with chickens and they're feeding her. Our daughter gets invited to like their family barbecues. We don't get invited, but they're just take her, and so it's very community oriented. I'm very friendly and warm.
Nice. Next one that I have, it's the work life. I mean, you are working from home, I assume, but maybe to friends or people, how is the work life in there?
So the challenge is, for your viewers, most people will be working remotely. And then, so it's not really kind of local work culture. Local work culture, they'll kind of do the 9 to 5s and be done. We also own our own business. And so I am working from home, but we also travel a lot to meet with our different teams in different places. Or I'll meet with clients if they're passing through. But when you own your own business, you're never not working essentially. But local work culture is much more laid back than I think our Western or the US, Canadian, UK style work culture.
And related to working from home, how is the internet?
Good. Yeah, I'm doing this
Yeah.
call on our internet. There are little brownouts maybe once a day, but we actually have our internet on a backup battery so we don't lose it. But the speed is good enough to do these calls or to watch whatever we want.
I mean, you would surprise. I'm in Italy, but I also have a UPS connected to my router right here. So it's not.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I have a NAS server, but that's another story. But
Right,
I also have a
exactly.
battery connected to the router, so you don't
Why
need to be in
not?
Costa Rica. It's
Yeah,
just
exactly. Why not?
next one that I have, it's getting around. How is the best way? I mean, you are in a rural area, so I suppose you need a car to move around. But in the big cities, it's like public transport. There is any applications to move around? How it does it work?
So Costa Rica, if you're living in the Central Valley, so kind of right in the middle of the country, there's this kind of mountain highlands area. It's called the Central Valley, and that's where the capital San Jose is. And then there's a bunch of surrounding kind of towns and neighborhoods and suburbs and things. If you're living in the greater San Jose area, you can use Uber. There is public transportation, but it's not good. It's kind of these overcrowded buses. So you can use Uber. Outside of that very specific area, you're going to want your own car just because the infrastructure here, just the way the infrastructure is set up, you're going to need to drive around places. It's a very mountainous country, and so there's not like bike paths or things like that.
Okay,
So you're gonna probably want your own car outside of where you could use Uber.
is easy to drive, like the state of the roads and so on, or
I'm very used to it. I think people come down and they're freaked out. So if you're driving in Canada, the roads are pretty good, and the drive, everyone's follows the same set of rules, and so you can almost zone out while you're driving on the highway, which is not great. In Costa Rica, it's not that way. It's very active at all times. I don't mind it. I think it's fine. But there's typically 2 lanes, so one way each way, and so traffic can back up. It's typically pretty windy because it's a very mountainous country. I'm very used to it, so it doesn't bother me, but it is an adjustment.
see. What about? I mean, I know from Cuba, from Mexico, colectivos do exist in Costa Rica, like
What is it?
the
What is it?
colectivo.
What is
It's
that?
the communal taxi, like a shared car approach where
Yeah,
you jump into.
not as much. In the Dominican Republic, yes. So we used to hitchhike all the time in the back of like produce trucks in the Dominican Republic, or
Mm,
we would use the collectivos when we were in the capital. But here, not as much.
interesting. So I suppose it's a matter of like how high or low are you in the central.
I agree. I'm really tall. And so they used to make me buy 2 seats in the collectivos because I had to like kind of go sideways.
Crazy. Next one that I have it's healthcare.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have a baby in Costa Rica? Were you
Yeah.
already here? Like, so you touch the healthcare system. How
Yeah.
is
And
it?
I actually had a knee surgery here too. So really good healthcare in the Central Valley. They have some excellent hospitals. There's a lot of medical tourism, really good dental too. There's
Mhm.
a public healthcare plan that you can qualify for once you are a temporary resident, but you probably want to also have a private insurance because the public plan can be very slow and to do elective things. And so if you can afford it, we would recommend having an international insurance as well or private insurance. But I paid for the knee surgery out of pocket because I didn't have the insurance at that point, and it would have bankrupted me in the US, and I could afford it here. We gave birth. My partner gave birth here. Part of the reason we did it too is because when you have a child in Costa Rica, you automatically become permanent residents, and the child automatically becomes a dual citizen. So we got to skip kind of the visa lines by doing it. So we had a bit of an anchor baby, but she's a dual citizen now. The medical system here is very good, especially in the Central Valley.
Nice. Now the question that frightens everyone. After a positive one,
Yeah,
bureaucracy, paperwork, visas, permits.
yeah. Things move slowly, and you just need to be prepared for it. And ultimately, it's up to the discretion of whoever's processing whatever you're trying to do. So, if you're doing a visa, for instance, a digital nomad visa, we actually just had a case. Everything was correct about the paperwork that was submitted. but some agent didn't want to deal with it and they made up some rule. And now we have to comply with the rule. So it is a bureaucratic country, and it can kind of generally things function okay, but just take forever. So if you're going for a temporary residency, it takes them 10 months to process. You can live in the country while they're processing the visa, but it's 10 months. Just to give you an idea, to open a bank account can be a really painful process. So just as long as you know what to expect and manage your expectations and be prepared to go several times to kind of get things done. It's Pura Vida. So one of the reasons we like Costa Rica is because it's Pura Vida, but it's also Pura Vida in terms of all the processes. So
I see.
expect that.
Is it very paperwork based, or you can do things digitally?
So you're supposed to be able to do things digitally, but those digital systems don't always function extremely well. Some things do. So for instance, there's an online mobile payment system called SeamPay. So you put money
Mhm.
in your Costa Rican bank account, you can pay with your phone, and that works great. There are online apps for the banks and things that work depending on the day of the week. And there's just some things that are a lot more bureaucratic than and require a lot more paperwork than you would expect.
I see. Next one, it's the best and the worst about
Sorry, the
living.
best
The best and the worst. What is the best thing and the worst thing of living there?
of Costa Rica? Well, as we're speaking, there's a toucan in the trees right in front of me. So that's really cool. It's a beautiful country, truly beautiful, and it has everything. So it has mountains, it has cloud forest, it has jungle, it has lake, it has incredible Caribbean side beaches with good snorkeling, and the Pacific beaches with surfing and the seafood and seeing whales and things. So, and they've really taken care of their environment, and we always are very impressed that that's kind of been people Costa Ricans feel that. So we used to just kind of throw out our banana peels, and we got reprimanded by a Costa Rican friend who was like, "No, that needs to go back into the soil." And so they really do take care of their nutrients. It's a beautiful country. It's relatively very clean and just very warm and welcoming and laid back. In terms of the negatives, I just think getting anything done can be really frustrating, and I think that's where a lot of people will come in the first 6 months, especially Americans, and just get really frustrated and maybe think, "Well, Costa Rica's not for me," just because it is slow.
Last one that I have for this section is the top tip. I mean, I suppose that's part of your job,
Yeah,
probably, but what is the one line advice that you give to people who's planning to move?
visit first. I believe in cultural fit. Sometimes people will move or buy a property for $400,000 because they had a great vacation 2 years ago. Vacation is different from living in a place. You're going to want to live in a different kind of place than you might vacation to. Check out a bunch of different areas. Spend as much time as you can in a bunch of different areas before kind of making a commitment.
Nice. Perfect.